So today I want to talk about working online and how I pretty much was able to create this lifestyle for myself where I was able to travel, live abroad for pretty much my whole adult life, actually, even before I started working online. So I actually studied education in college, so I wasn't always like a writer. I didn't know that writing could be a career. I thought it was like you could be an author and that was it, or work for the New York Times. I didn't realize there were other types of jobs out there. And maybe there weren't so many back then, to be honest. When I say back then, but this is like 2013. So I studied education. I knew I wanted to go abroad. So I went to Korea to teach English. And actually, the first year that we were there, um, I was completing my teaching certification in New Jersey, and Max was also going for his as well. And it was emails and applications and all this sort of thing. And so Max pointed out, he's like, hey, you're actually really good at this. You should try writing as a job. And I didn't know that that could be a job. I thought, like I said, that was only something you could do as like an author or whatever. Showed me that there were some online jobs like Elance, Upwork. I think it was called Elance back then. And I mean, I was getting paid if I got paid anything. Mostly I was just doing writing internships where I wrote about my experiences living in Korea, like blogging sort of thing. And yeah, I mean, it never occurred to me to do it as like a job. It was just something to make a little bit of extra money. And as the money started coming in, I was kind of like, oh, like my skills are valuable. I could actually make money off of this. Um, then when we moved to Mexico after leaving Korea, that's when I started doing it a little bit more. But to back up a second, the first time I learned that you could actually work online as a job and work remotely, Max and I were actually in Malaysia. So we finished up our first year in Korea and we were backpacking Southeast Asia. So we started in Thailand and then we worked our way down to Malaysia and then Singapore. So we were in Malaysia and we stayed at Airbnb was also like kind of a new thing back then. So we're staying in an Airbnb in an apartment. So like obviously these days we get like our own place or whatever. But back then we didn't have a big budget. So if there was like an extra room in an apartment, that's what we did. So we met this couple. They were about our age, and they were both from the UK, except the wife was Malay and met her husband in the UK, and then he had to like convert to Islam to live in Malaysia, like married with her, and it was a really funny story. So they were super cool, and we saw them always like sitting at their tiny desk working on their computer, and we were like, oh, like what are you guys doing? And they were like, "Oh, we work online. We just like pick up random freelance gigs on Elance, or it might have been Upwork by then. I don't know. And we just have to make $30 a day collectively because their rent was like $400, and to eat there it's very affordable. So once they made their $30 for the day, they went out, they signed off, they closed their computer, they went to go eat. We ate with them. We learned about it. And then I was like, wow, this could actually be a career or like a life. Like people actually do this, but of course you have to live somewhere where you can afford it. So this was June 2014. Um, so mind you, I had already started doing some writing job. It never thought it was something I would ever make enough money to be able to do it unless I lived somewhere like really affordable. And I like Thailand. I like the idea, but I didn't know how to go about any of that at the time. Like my mind was just on teaching, right? So after that whole experience, I remember we did this thing where we wanted to go somewhere like really remote where nobody else went. So I remember going to Google Maps and I looked around like Malaysia, Thailand, and I was like, where can we go? That's super, in the middle of nowhere. And there was this tiny island called Tioman Island, next to Malaysia. And I was like, I want to go there. So we figured out how to get there. You take a ferry, whatever. And I remember we stayed in this cottage that was like right on the beach, and the ocean was incredible. And I'm like 22 years old. So we wake up one morning, we wake up and we just like go to the beach. And even though we had a pretty planned itinerary, I didn't really know like where we were gonna go, like, specifically. Like I knew we were gonna sleep in this place or go to this city, but I didn't know like what each day was gonna bring. So I remember just waking up, being able to like walk on the beach and like do whatever I wanted. I didn't have to go to a job. I didn't have to do anything. And I mean, I had to think about what we were going to. We already had a teaching job lined up in Mexico, so we were free for that summer, so that was good. But I just remember that feeling of not having to wake up, like do the 9 to 5 and this whole thing that all my friends were already doing back in the States. And I was like, I don't want any of that. I never want to do that. I just want to wake up and be on the beach all day. Now, obviously, that's not realistic, right? Like, we all have to make a living, we have to make money. But I knew I wanted a flexible schedule and I wanted to work on my own time. So after our first year working in Mexico, where we made a lot less money than we made in Korea and went into more debt, there was a coworker of mine who told us that she made like $500 a month online. And I was like, wow, like $500? That's crazy. Like at that time, that would have been enough to supplement what we weren't really earning in Mexico. And so I was like, okay, first I started with $5, then $10. Like maybe I can make a little bit more. So fast forward a few months, I have a couple clients. I'm making like $400 a month, maybe. Like by the time we moved back to Korea, after that year, I was making around $800 a month and just online. And Max was earning from teaching English online. So he was earning like, I don't know, we were both together earning probably about like $1,500 extra on top of our salary in Korea working online, which was great because in Korea they pay for your rent, they pay your salary, they pay your insurance. Well, they're supposed to. So it was like extra money for us to save and plan. So it wasn't until the end of our second year in Korea. So this was like 2015, I think, or 16, that we both decided to take the leap to working online, like both of us. So we could have stayed in Korea and continued teaching, found another school, like whatever. But then we were like, let's do this. Like we can do this. It was actually Max's idea, which is really funny because everyone would think it was mine because, like, I've been doing this forever and I'm always the one that's like, let's go travel, let's go this. And Max always like, no, let's work and save money. So it was his idea. He felt that he was making enough teaching online and my writing was doing pretty well at that point. I had consistent clients. I was making a decent amount of money. And I also decided to teach online so that just in case I had that as like a backup. And I actually did that for like another year or so. So, yeah, it was a lot of work, but in so many ways we felt so free because it was the summer in Korea. We got to go out, like we got to enjoy Korea without having to work at a hagwon. It was the best. Like we had an amazing time. We had good friends in our neighborhood that also like, well, one of them was a professor, but he had a pretty flexible schedule. The other one worked online, so we used to meet up for lunch. Like it was so much fun realizing that this could be like a life. Um, so we moved back to Mexico with both of us working online. We paid $450 for our house there in Toluca, Mexico. And we were both earning close to 2 to 3 thousand a month, which when your rent is only $400, like it was crazy. We had no kids, we had no responsibilities. We did want to save up money, and that was a little bit hard. Just because we had wanted to buy a property back in the States, but the issue was we didn't have like a real job, so it didn't really look good for the paperwork for the mortgage broker, whatever. So that's a whole other thing. But once we moved to Mexico and we had a base there because we wanted a base, we wanted like a place that we could call home. We were traveling all the time. Like anytime that I saw a flight to somewhere that I wanted to go and it was cheap enough, I booked it. So we went to Nepal, India, China, Tokyo. We went back to Korea to visit. We did like a whole road trip around Europe. We did trips around Mexico. We went to the States. Like we also did it like on a budget. Like we found ways to save money by doing house sitting, stuff like that. We ate sandwiches from the supermarket, but this was our life, and we both worked while we did it. So like I had all my articles planned that I needed to do. Max had all his teaching stuff set up. Sometimes it was hard because he forgot that he booked a class or something, or we were in a different time zone and we got like screwed up at the time. But for the most part, like that's how we sustained ourselves. And we worked really well like that for probably like 2, 3 years. And then it started to go a little sour. He wasn't getting booked as much. So yeah, so I started this, I would say like full time, like 2015, 2016. And now we're 10 years later. I've had my full time job for the last 2 years. And now I'm at this point where it's like, do I go back to freelancing or do I continue down the path that I've been on? And I don't really look at it as a path because I really feel like life is more of like, okay, I guess it's like a path, but it's not like, it doesn't have to be like a ladder, right? Or it doesn't have to be like, okay, because I'm going down this path now, I can't now go down this path. Like you can pivot, you can make a change. It's okay. I think so much has changed. I think when I started freelancing, I was one of the only people I knew that was doing it. Both of us, because that was like really the blessing that both of us were able to do it. And a lot of people were like, oh, I want to do that too. And so we would like help people figure out like, this is how you find work online. You could do this job, you could do that job. But by then, I don't know, it kind of caught on and everybody was looking for work online. Everyone. It became very oversaturated. And then the pandemic hit. So I think Max and I got in a really, really good time. I remember one time in Mexico, we went to like a California pizza kitchen on a Monday and we recorded a video and we were just like, look at us. We're drinking beer at noon on a Monday at a California pizza kitchen while everyone else is at work because we can. So right now it is like 3 o'clock.
For
4:15. Well, we could have come here earlier, but the point is, it's a Monday, and most people are
still working.
They still have the commute after work. Maybe they're just getting off work. Maybe they work today to watch the eclipse. I don't know. But we're spending our Monday. We just had some drinks at home, and then we got hungry, so we decided to come to see PK, which is one of my favorite places to eat in Mexico. And you can do this too if you if you work remotely, live on your own schedule. You can go with that pizza whenever you want to.
2 people for what?
15. It's a little more expensive than like other Mexican food.
Depends on the currency.
Yeah, we'll get to that in our next episode. Like it. At one point, we felt like, not to compare, but we felt like we had all the freedom, right? Like our friends were always working all the time, doing the grind in New York City. We were like sitting on the terrace of our apartment in Mexico City, like just living the dream. But at some point, our friends started to be making more money and buying their first homes or like what have you, reaching a state in their jobs where they had the flexibility. Like they could take off when they wanted, it didn't matter. They had the job, they had a nice life in Jersey City or Hoboken or wherever they lived. And we were still kind of like here because we were still living abroad. We still were working online. We still had the flexibility, but it wasn't as as easy to maintain. Like it started to become more difficult. And we knew at some point we were going to have to make some sort of change. It was funny. We'd go back to the States. Every time we would go back, he'd be like, I got you guys. And I'm like, do we really give off those vibes? And I'm like, I guess so. I guess we were like roughing it. We were like those backpacking friends. That's how everybody saw us, except we were doing it for years. So anyway, to go back to what I was saying, I found the thing that I liked about working full time was that I still got to work online, whatever, but I was having like a stable income. I'm not necessarily making more than I was as a freelancer, but I was making it consistently. And I didn't have to chase down and do that. There's so much hustle that goes into freelancing. Like you always have to find clients. And that's part of the job that you're not getting paid for. And it can be really exhausting, or it could be exhausting when you finally get someone and then they drop you. And, I figured out how to do it, but it was stressful. And Max also, like, he didn't have a lot of stable online work in years. He stopped teaching. He taught longer than I did. And then he picked up some other gigs. Like he did YouTube script writing for a while. He did other things, but it wasn't enough. Like it was not nearly as consistent as mine was. So, um, yeah. And I liked that aspect of it for sure. But it's like a whole different version of yourself, that you're working and you're doing that sort of thing. And, one thing I also noticed once I had kids, obviously you like that stability when you have children, but um, even if Max and I were kind of living outside of the system in many ways, the rest of the world doesn't function like that, right? So, like, if we wanted to put our kid in daycare, for example, because we needed to work, that was still a Monday through Friday system. Businesses or like whatever, meeting up with friends who didn't work the same way, that they were still living in that system unless they figured out a way to make money passively, then they hacked it in a way. And we were nowhere near that point. We're still nowhere near that point. So like fire, I guess you've heard of. So, when we went to Portugal, we've met a lot of people who were living that lifestyle that we had been living prior to having kids, but they didn't have to work, whereas we still did. So it was like, okay, we haven't figured out how to do this yet. And that's kind of why I'm leaning towards continuing to find like a full-time job and work that way now, because my kids are young and they're in that system now. Sure, there's a lot of people who like do the whole digital nomad thing with kids, and we very much wanted to do that, but it was just becoming way too hard with like all the hustle and freelance work and everything to do that and do what I had to do and enjoy it with kids, right? Like, because when you're traveling with your kids, you want to be able to like go do stuff during the day. You have nap times, you have all these things to account for. And then they get to a stage where they're not napping anymore. Or they only nap at home and this and that. And we were able to do that for a little while when we lived in Portugal. Like, we went to Spain for 3 weeks. Like, we did whatever we wanted because we weren't working that much. But because we weren't working, we weren't making like any money. And it was really stressful with kids. So now we're like trying to find that balance, like of us, now it'd be nice for us to like save up a little bit more money, maybe make some smarter investment decisions. And then like one day figure out how we can get back to like doing that, like earning money maybe passively or doing like light work that we can do while our kids are sleeping or they're old enough to play independently. Um, and we can get back to that, because we do want to do this with our kids. But right now, it's just like not even possible anyway. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I think working online is more about like where you are in your life. But this is our situation right now. So it's all to say you have to do what works for your life right now. And right now, I mean, I'm curious to see what might come up if I start freelancing, but what I don't want to do is just be stressed all the time about finding clients and just, yeah, everything. It's a lot to run your own business in that way. But there are benefits. But yeah, we'll see what the future holds. We never know. If you've been in the same boat as me or as us, would love to hear about it in the comments below. Ciao.